You can't unsee what you see.
It's happy hour. Okay, we just day drank.
So when we talk about you gambling and having an issue,
this is what we're talking about. Do not buy another JVA warranty until you've looked at the Caddie Workmanship Guarantee Program.
We're kicking ass and taking names, apparently.
Caddie Shack.
All right, we're back. We are back. We're back. Next podcast. This is more of just a kind of ongoing topic, and it's been for. I wanted to just go over it with this for the Caddie Shack. This is not related to really anything air conditioning.
Yeah, this is not a business one.
This is not a business one.
We just talk about it a lot.
Yeah,
offline.
Our kids are in this. I've been having a lot of conversations. It seems like with friends and some of the family that are involved with the school system, and so I just wanted to kind of go over two topics just to have the conversation. One that is really, really a big deal right now in Texas is this SB2 bill, which I want to go over, and then also I want to kind of dive into kids sports a little bit. I think we're at the age I just turned 40. Evan turned 40. Matt's like 76 now. 41. Nick?
53.
Nick? Don't disclose it. Nick's our young, bright one here. He still has the sharp mind.
18.
18. Just turned 18.
No, but I think it's interesting because there's a lot. Our lives are very much wrapped up in this stuff right now. Matt, you're just getting into it. You've got two young daughters. I think they're playing sports now.
Yep, 4 and 1.
So you're
soccer, gymnastics, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Starting out.
Just getting into it. Evan, you've got a son that is like the next. I'm going to say Scotty Scheffler.
No, we don't want to go there yet. That's too early. That's a jinx. You don't want to jinx it.
I'm not jinxing. That's like asking. No, that's like asking what your round is when you're on hole 15. Hey man, you're like 3 under right now.
Yeah. You don't want to talk. No, he's good for sure. He's Jack's 10, Luke's 7. Soccer. Luke's playing soccer and a little flag football, which is kind of fun because I never did football.
Yeah,
I know you did football. You're a big high school star and walk on at Oklahoma State. But so I never really got to experience the football stuff. So it's been kind of fun to watch Luke do his football thing, and then obviously Jack with golf is it's a different level for what that's doing right now. But it's fun. It's exciting. But it's a lot of work, a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
If you're watching this and you have kids that are in sports, as you know, it's a lot of time.
Oh, yeah. Well, and especially when you make that jump from, I'm going to call it like recreational sports to select, travel, whatever you want to call it, sports. I mean, I know you're there with the golf. You're right on the cusp of it. I mean, she's got another couple years, and then you're going to make that decision on, do we go with the Scots Club or whatever it is?
Right.
I think we played them.
Emma's in soccer.
Yeah. So I guess, I've got...
You have children?
I've got children as well. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So I've got 17 children. I'm just kidding. No, I've got 3. I've got one that just turned 13. I've got an 11-year-old. She'll be 11 this month, here in a couple days. And then I've got a little guy that's just nuts. But really what I have been most, I guess, made aware of is this club soccer. So my oldest that's 13 plays very competitive club. She's in a league with teams from, Oklahoma and Arkansas and South Texas and plays part of these clubs. And we have been through a couple clubs, which is ironic because when we talk about the school, she's been through a bunch of different school types too. These are so closely related. And so what I want to talk about is that kind of, like merging of what's going on with club sports and the school districts. And I think they're all very tied together. And it's an interesting time because, with NIL money going on, all that stuff, it's really crazy what's going to happen. So one thing with the kids' sports, and Evan, you felt this for sure. They're way different than when I was a kid.
Yeah,
we had club teams.
Well, I remember specifically probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. One of Susie's friends texted her who had older kids at the time, and was like, "Man, they just moved to Chicago, I think, or something like that." They're like, the sports scene is crazy. Like people are way over. Like,
yes,
it's different. Like I used to just go to Indian Springs Sports Complex in Broken Arrow and play soccer, and I played competitive, and that was it, man. That was great. You travel around at some tournaments every once in a while, and that was like great memories or whatever. But now it is full-fledged, like very competitive. Kids not making teams, people getting feelings hurt. I mean, there's like a whole aspect behind it that's kind of crazy. I'll never forget when she said that. And now that my kids are grown up, like, yep, it's there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got to get started early. People hold their kids back for sports.
Yeah.
To be a year,
common.
More advanced, I guess, for their age, their year, whatever. Yeah.
I know lots of folks that have kids that are like 8th graders that they're like looking at the competition that's going to be there next, in their grade going into high school. They're like, you know what?
Let's hold them back.
Let's hold them back 1 year.
It's crazy.
In 8th grade.
In 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how young this is starting with this stuff. And I mean, we could get into like the different camps and things that they used to run, which is hilarious. So I grew up in Flower Mound and playing football. There was a Todd Dodge 7-on-7, I think was the camp that he put on or whatever. Or maybe it was passing camp. I don't remember, but Todd Dodge was the South Lake head coach. And back then it wasn't as wild west as it is now, but we would go to these camps as like, the Marcus High School team or whatever. And they were basically just sitting there watching, like, how good are these guys? Who's we have to watch out
to recruit these folks.
Right, yeah, maybe. Like, I don't. But it's kind of crazy how it started then to what it's come to now. Because now it's almost like just a free for all. Like they have open school districts and things like that, and it's like kids are going everywhere. And going back to the expense side of this thing, it is nuts. I mean, you played very competitive hockey growing up, right?
Yeah,
that's an expensive sport.
And that just kind of happened. I mean, started at Grapevine Mills.
Yeah.
It was called house hockey, which I think did you do that or just
I was
high school?
Stars Junior.
Yeah, that's what we just called house hockey.
Yeah.
And then it was like one parent's like, oh, we're going to do the Dallas Stars Elite.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, we're going to put our kid there. And then next thing you know, everybody's doing that. You're traveling to 10 states a year for tournaments. Then I was going to a charter school, and it was like, how did this all happen?
Yeah. Well, that might be the normal world now, right? Like that's what's crazy about where it's going. Like as I've watched what like the Hunt family has done, for example, with FC Dallas, I think they are brilliant. Okay. They bought a, professional soccer club, and I'm sure the professional club does well. I have no idea. I mean, I think you've invested alongside some soccer, like a club owner, like the Sidekicks owner, so like that, and other business deals.
Right.
I don't know how lucrative the actual sports franchise it is there. However, what they have done is unbelievable. The guys, when we go to these tournaments now, and FC Dallas is a big club here in North Texas, what the Hunt family has done with that, and I don't know the ins and outs. I would love to talk to them about that, but they have created a mega business. I mean, the amount of money that goes into these clubs is shocking. And FC Dallas is one of the more expensive clubs. You're talking $400, $500, $600 a month club fees. You're talking about travel kits that are $2,000. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. That was not how it was when I was growing up. And it sounds like you were in the transition of that kind of, because you got to see both of it. So didn't happen, started to happen. Holy cow, it's wild now. And so I'm fascinated by the kids' sports business. Like I think it's probably oversaturated now, or very saturated. I don't know about oversaturated, but these clubs, when they do it right, I mean, you're talking about taking one club and spitting out hundreds of teams under that club, where every kid pays that amount plus, all this stuff and the travel fees. And I mean, you're talking about making a line item budget in your personal budget that is substantial. Mm-hmm. Right?
You got to pay for the camp.
Yeah.
You have to go to the camp to be able to get invited to the tryout, which you also have to pay for. And then you got to be on the team, and you got to pay for all that too. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And all the jerseys and all that.
It's so crazy.
Golf's not any better.
That's why I'm laughing.
Do not, man, it's funny. We got pretty close with Ivan Zweig, Avery Zweig's dad, back in the fixed days. And, I remember thinking back in that time, because part of what we, would help him with is paying for some tournaments and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, like, can't be that expensive, right? Like, no, it's a lot. Yeah,
he wasn't wrong. It is a lot.
You're talking. I think just on tournaments and travel, it's somewhere around $50,000 a year, somewhere like that for Jack's Golf, because you pay for the tournament, which usually, if it's a travel one, it's a few $100, and then you got to get hotel or VRBO, which is usually you're there for 3 or 4 nights, or depending on which tournament it is, right? Mm-hmm. And that's $1,200 to $1,500, depending on now is our Susie and Luke going, right? So in that case, we got to get a bigger place. So then that
more
turns
plane
into 15.
tickets, more
and then your flights, all that stuff, food, all that sort of stuff adds up. So we've gotten kind of, we did something that's a little different.
Yeah.
Susie would probably kill me for talking about it on a podcast, but we've kind of structured Jack stuff within an LLC to try to mitigate some of those expenses, right? And put it in an entity, which is a little different. And I've tried to spread that, knowledge and some of the research I did on it to some of the other parents to try to help them out a little bit, because it just adds up. And so if you're just doing it personally, if you just cut the checks and put it on your personal card, then that's $50K out the window that you get no tax benefit on or anything like that. So we've set some stuff up. And Texas, unfortunately, is not an NIL state for high school. So there's some states that if you in high school, they can sign NIL deals and it doesn't affect them playing in high school. And right now, Texas doesn't allow you to do that. So technically, Jack can't sign any NIL deals or anything like that, or he won't be able to play in high school, which in the golf world, sometimes you don't even end up playing for your high school team. So it may not matter or not, but we have to structure things a little bit differently. Otherwise, my original idea was like just have them sign an NIL deal with our personal company that we own and that sort of thing. So we can't do that because then it voids any high school eligibility. But it's kind of crazy. And some of our friends that are in Oklahoma, it's like they can do it and then sign it because there's no issue there. But
that's a great transition into the school stuff, right? Because there are some crazy rules, but it's a fast moving topic where NIL. I think it was released only a handful of years ago, right? And it has absolutely shaken everything up. I was watching the draft this year, watching Shedeur Sanders going, okay. I was just ChatGPT. I was like, how does this guy pull out of the draft and go back to Colorado or wherever? Because he can make more money there than the NFL. Should he do it? Is he going to do it? Can he do it? Technically, he could have gone back and sued and had a good chance to
go back and play in college.
Yeah. So it's interesting because, kind of shifting now over to the other subject, which is what's going on with the schools. Dude, it's going to be a wild time for our kids. And this is what all the dads talk about right now is like, if you have a gifted athlete as a kid, I wouldn't say that mine is there, but your golfer certainly is. You got to start thinking about this kind of stuff because the landscape is going to look wild when someone like Luke or Baker, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be free for all. So, So let's talk SB2 for a second, and then we'll blend these all together. So SB2 passed a few months ago, and it was an effort by the state of Texas to I think they created a fund that's like $1 billion fund.
ESA, Education Savings Account, is what it is. Yeah. So you can use it towards a.
Yeah, it's an ESA where you get distributed money quarterly, and that money is up to $10,000 for I think non-handicap folks, and you get $10,000 to go towards the school at which you choose. So it's kind of like a right to choose school.
Yeah, I think you get 15 if it's special needs.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it goes towards tuition, textbooks. I think I wrote tutoring, uniforms, things like that.
I was reading that it doesn't have to go to a private school. You can actually do. So when we're talking about the change and shift in schools, a lot of the conversations we've been having for Jack is a lot of what golfers end up doing because you have to travel so much as you get older.
Yep.
You can't miss days, right? As they just go to online. Like a lot of the good golfers right now are just going to online schools, like Blades Brown and some of those guys they were in. I think when they got to 10th grade probably or 11th grade, I can't remember, but they're just going to online schools, but it pays for that, which is kind of nice because
for sure that's what
gotta have tutors and
yours wasn't fully online, but you did something like that as a very competitive hockey player,
Yeah, that's what my brother did too.
Yeah,
that's my brother did public school at Marcus, and it was as a freshman he walked on and won varsity qualifying by 30, and played there for a year, and he was practicing at Lake Park, which wasn't super great. My dad was a member at a course, and he couldn't start practicing until 3. And I think at the time he was top 10 junior in the world, and it was kind of I was going to school from 8 to noon, and it was I want to do that for golf, so that's what he did. And there was a bunch of tennis players, golfers.
Yeah,
they were very flexible. You just had to, 4 hours a day in a seat, and that was it. But they would do. you could be hybrid too, to where you could be like in school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursdays were fully online if you chose that program.
I think Founders Academy still, or if not Founders,
Responsive Ed. So that's the parent company. We went to iSchool, and that was their STEM program. But it was great. It was my whole hockey team and like 2 other hockey teams. We'd go to school 8 to noon, and then we get bussed over to the hockey rink, and we go skate for 2 hours, do off ice for 2 hours, and then I think my brother was the first golfer there, and everybody was like, well, what's Ben do? What school do you go to? I don't see him competing in any of the Texas stuff. And it's like, I go to iSchool. And then all of a sudden there was like 10, 15 golfers that went there. Same with tennis players. And it was great. Dual credit was fully paid for. So I graduated with like 18 credit hours done. My sister graduated with 36 credit hours done.
She was
all
a junior.
Paid for by the school. 8 to noon.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the best high school experience I could have ever dreamed for. They didn't believe in homework. 5 questions max. They're like, you either know it after 5 or you don't. So I'm not going to assign 30 questions of homework. That was a school policy. Very flexible with everybody's schedules. Like, you kind of basically just handed them your tournaments for the year. And then they kind of planned your curriculum around it.
It's awesome.
You never skipped a beat. It was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. And then for some kids, that's a better way to learn. I mean, for me personally, I was way better educationally in college than I was in high school, where I could like kind of learn on my own terms. You know, you weren't like forced, you're not forced to go to school every day.
I saw you learn in college.
Yeah. It was great. It's
very
easier.
unique.
It was way easier. But there's a lot of kids that don't thrive sitting in a classroom. That was one of the things that Susie and I were looking at, and they don't have one near us. I think there's one in Dallas, but I think it's in Fort Worth. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a school that's very similar, and they do the same thing where AI teaches the kids for like 3 hours of the day, and then the other, you know, how many hours are left, the other 5 or whatever that they're there, like 2 of them are outside doing sports and activities, and the other 3 are like their class like runs a business, like a legit business. So they're learning like hands-on. And we've always talked about that. It's like, why do they not teach investing in high school? Why do they not teach how to manage your finances? Why do they not teach like stock market 101? Like what?
They've got to teach you cosine and tangent, which I use all the time.
Or you got like in Oklahoma, it was like Oklahoma history. Like what? Okay, great. History's good. Everybody needs to know some history, but I don't need to memorize these dates. I can, like, what are we doing?
I got the gist of it.
I understand what happened. I know what we did. It's
ready, set, go. You get your land.
Yeah. It's like, come on.
Another cool thing that they did is, do you know Ryan Grider by chance? He played golf at Baylor, and it was the old OSU golf coach, Mike
Holder.
Oh, Holder, the AD, yeah. It's Holder.
Well, he switched to Baylor.
May have. I don't know if he did or not, but that's
he was
Holder.
the coach for
he was
Ricky
there
was
forever.
there, and then he moved to
Holder
Baylor.
did.
Yeah, it's Holder.
Yeah.
By the way, that guy used to. Well, I worked maintenance at Karsten in college, and that guy would walk around and be like, "Hey, you missed it. You missed a divot. Clean this." I'm like, God, all right. Yeah. He walked the course every morning. Anyway, sorry.
Ryan like committed to Baylor, and he's like, "Dude, Baylor's practice facility is pretty sweet. I think I'm just going to try to graduate early." So the school just gave him all the curriculum, and they're like, "All right,
There you go.
do it." And he finished it in like 2 months, which is also crazy. That's supposed to be the whole year. And he finished it in 2 months, and he graduated early, went to Baylor and practiced, and just actually won his first Latin America event
Really?
weeks ago.
Wow.
First start.
Shout out. There you go. Yeah. Well, that's the thing I noticed too. So like when the kids went to COVID, like during COVID, when the kids went to homeschool, the thing that I was most like taken aback by, and granted they're young, she's 7th grade. I think it was like 5th grade, 4th and 5th grade that Emma was having it, and younger than that with Parker. There was like an hour max of classroom time, right? Like they were bouncing between those like Zoom meetings or whatever the virtual meetings, and it was very little classwork. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? In school, it's interesting because you have like depending on what you have, whether it's block schedule or whatever. I think at some point we went to like 8 classes at Marcus. That was 20 plus years ago. Then down to 4. But you have like travel time between classes. You have lunches. We had a period where it was like everyone just gathered for 30 minutes or whatever and kind of hung out and then went
Meet room or something.
Yeah, it was like a
hangout.
What it was called advisory or something. But
Homeroom.
chill zone.
Yeah, it was like a.
What did you do?
I wish I was like catching
You
up
wanna
on
know
homework.
the crazy
and stuff.
part is like
We never
that
had
didn't
this.
change from the time you went there to
Yeah.
when my brother went there.
To you.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. Well, no, what you did actually, and I'm not going to get deep in it, is you would go to the vending machines and you buy a bunch of like crappy food and you load up on sugar and then you go to your next class and the whole thing with that we could get into. But yeah, so being surprised by that, I'm like, man, they're spending an hour a day. Like, what is happening the other time? And I understand that, like, for a lot of people, school really is a way for childcare coverage. Like, not diminishing what they're learning, they are, but the value, a lot of it was in childcare coverage because, like, people work full-time jobs, their kids are in school, they come back, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so that was really eye-opening to me. And so, like, when I started, thinking about this, I was like, man, there's got to be a different way of doing it. And so, going back to this, what's really interesting, my kid went from, Emma has gone through a bunch of different schools. She started at one for kindergarten and then went to a different one for first grade. And she went to private school for a couple of years, then went back to the Argyle schools. So we've kind of run the gamut with her, which, I don't know if that's great for her, but it was a really interesting experience or experiment to kind of see. And I did notice things when she went to the private school, way more flexible. Like if we had a trip, a family vacation, whatever it was, she could go.
Yeah.
It was no question. She had to make up the schoolwork, but it was super flexible. And then the other thing, they had like a private chef basically at this school. So the meals that these kids had were excellent. They were not like your normal, cafeteria food. It was like high quality food. And I think that translated a lot to their ability to, retain knowledge and learn and all that stuff. But it was just run differently because it's a private business. Now, with this, obviously what's going to happen is it's going to impact the public school system, right? You're pulling a lot of money in theory out of the public school system and allowing people to choose where to go. And here's where I'm going with the 1 hour, of curriculum that they were going over. Right now we have an issue where teachers are underpaid. Teachers, I believe, have always been underpaid. And for someone that shapes the future of kind of our kids and then therefore the country, you want to make sure that they're properly paid. And I think that what can, there's a lot of negative in this, right? Like it's going to really impact public schools. I think a lot of kids will change their decisioning from, public to private, which could be good or bad, but it's going to impact negatively the public school system from like a financial perspective. However, what I think there's an opportunity to do is I think that you can look at things, and I've joked around with you guys. I'm like, I kind of want to start a school. I want like IMG of Texas. But what it gives us the opportunity to do is step back and say, okay, this is the way it's been done. Can we do it differently? Let's like throw up on a board the big problems that need to be fixed, teacher pay, things like that. And I think that it presents an opportunity where teachers can effectively work less hours. And if you mix in sports or whatever other hobbies there are with these students, any type of activity really, you have the ability to go to 4-day weeks or less work weeks. And all of a sudden teachers, if you look at it like as a per hour earning wage, they can make a lot more per hour, right? Because they don't need to be the babysitter, right? They need to teach. That's what they're there to do. They're there to train your kids on, all different curriculum, but also on how to be a good person and how to survive in society. And you can do all that stuff. And you can do it in a more condensed way, just like what you experienced at high school. And so I'm not like, I think I try to find the opportunity, I think, in most situations. And this is something that could be very opportunistic because you could really reshape how teachers are paid and what their workload looks like, and therefore provide a much better job experience for teachers. And the way that you do that is you by infusing them, making these things come together, infusing them with things like sports. And there's a soccer club here, for example, in Dallas. I think it's BBV. But I'm not positive. I'd have to look into it. I've looked into it before. There's one in like Branson, Missouri, that does this. But there are these schools where IMG is one of them that does it. They're very focused on sports, almost equally or more focused on sports, kind of like college, than they are on the curriculum. And so these kids go in and they get the knowledge that they need to learn, but then they go over and they play sports, just like you did again in high school. I think it's going to be fascinating because going back to that club here in Dallas, they're doing this. They partner with a school and their top tier teams, those kids go to that school, and the school's got great practice facilities for soccer. So they go to school for a couple hours a day. They learn what they need to learn. And then they're on the soccer field and they're improving in soccer. So and these are kids that will go, D1. They're like studs. But it's an interesting way they've been doing it. And now with this whole SB2 deal, I mean, kids are going to have the opportunity to do that. And some people out there have got to be figuring out how to turn this into a very profitable business where you have a happy workforce, happy teachers, happy students, happy administration.
Yeah, that was kind of how I found, I can't remember the name of it. I got to look it up. The one in Fort Worth that we were looking at where they kind of run their own business and stuff it was just reels on Instagram that I saw of the students talking about, here's a day in the life at this school, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that looks like fun. And when you go deeper into it, you look and like their test scores, I think a lot of people would equate like focusing on sports more than school means that you're just going to get like a jockhead dummy, right?
Yeah.
But the test scores that they were talking about was like they're performing better than most schools.
Yeah.
Or way outperforming a lot of schools, right?
Yeah.
So it's like just because you only learn for 3 hours a day doesn't mean that you're not learning, a better way.
In responsive ed, you couldn't graduate high school unless you were accepted into college. Was another crazy thing. So everybody in my whole class was accepted into college. They may not have gone, just financially for some reasons, but like that was a mandatory in order to get your diploma. I think it's a high school diploma.
Yeah.
You had to have acceptance into college. Yeah.
Wow.
So cool. Yeah. I think what, I think a lot of public schools are going to, really freak out over this. But at the end of the day, you have the same amount of students going and getting some education. And so the base of customers, if you will, is still there. It's just, do you work in the public or do you work in the private? Like they still need to be taught. So it's not like you're eliminating a workforce. You're just shifting it. The only downside, there's a lot of downsides, I'm sure, to this that I'm not considering, but the main downside I see is that I think what's actually going to happen, though, is these private schools are going to get wildly more expensive. So people that are set up like a Liberty Christian in Argyle, who's next to me, I don't want to quote their tuition, but I would imagine that it's going to go up by about $10,000 a student, right? As it should, because they can. But in turn, hopefully they're able to, pay their teachers more, pay their coaches more, give the students better experience. And that's what's going to happen. And you have a wife that's works in the public school system. She's probably very aware of this. And
yeah. I mean, I think on the public school side, they've mainly had negative thoughts on it. I guess thinking big picture, they mainly look at, they get funded based on how many students are there.
Yep.
And so if you start to deplete that number, then each public school is going to get less and less. So
yes,
globally looking at that, it seems like there will be a shift in less funding towards public schools, which will hurt a lot of public schools. And I'm interested to see what the outcome of that will be. But yeah, a lot of negativity around it for the most part. Again,
I haven't seen any solutions. Like I see all the negative stuff where it's like they're taking our money and it's like, well, that money belongs to the family and the student and what's best for them.
Yeah.
So, and like there's no like, hey, we're going to change stuff. We're going to do anything. It's just like, that's less money for us.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's no solution being talked about. No, nothing.
Yeah.
Like I had one of our neighbors, he had some special needs that needed attended to, and he had to go to Sheldon, was like the only school that could offer the care that he needs. Parents paid for it completely out of pocket.
Yeah.
Money was tight. It was very expensive, and it's like that $10,000 would have gone a very, very long way with them, and it was what was best for their kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, like teachers, like y'all want to help kids. I completely get it. That's why you choose the path. But it's instead of just talking and like they're just valuing kids as $1,
right?
Versus like, well, what can we do to make these kids want to stay?
Yeah.
No one's talking about that.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that. And it
Right.
bugs
Great
me.
point.
Well,
population wise, also one other thing is like, so at least in Dallas, where we're like in the heart of Dallas, there's there's a handful of good schools there, and they tend to fill up very quickly, right? And so then that was one of the things we had. One of the reasons why our kids went to the private school that they're at is because the class size, especially for Jack, Luke's on point with his educational stuff. Jack needs a little more hand holding. So smaller class size was a big factor for that. And the schools, we specifically moved into a neighborhood to go to that public school. COVID happened. Then we ended up going to the private school just because smaller class size. And when we did the tours and figured out how many kids were going to be in each class, it's a lot for one teacher to handle. I mean, I think about it as a parent managing your 2 to 3, 4 kids. Now imagine having 25 of them in your classroom, and you're having to deal with all the different personalities and it's just, I can't imagine it. So it's like, it seems wild to me. I coached their soccer team, and man, just dealing with 12 boys on the field is like, okay, no one's listening. This is horrible. And I would always say to them, I was like, do you listen to is this how you treat your teachers? They're like, oh, no. Because we'd get in trouble. I'm like, well, go run a lap.
Yeah.
But it's like population wise, hopefully one of the positives that comes out of it is that it kind of will allow some of the families that are choosing not to go to private or maybe need to send their kids to something else for higher education or to challenge their kids more for education or something like whatever that may be, right, for each kid, is it opens up some spots or at least makes room in the public schools. I feel like that could potentially be helpful, at least for the ones that are overcrowded, like specifically the ones that are super packed.
Right. And think about this. There hasn't been a whole lot of fair competition in the school system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's either pay or free.
Yeah, you either pay a lot to go to private, or your property taxes go to the school system. So you kind of are what you are. And so, let's say you're a poor performing school district, and you kind of got the revenue guaranteed. We've looked at financing stuff, and like the bonds that are created by these school districts are fantastic. They're going to get paid. Property taxes are going to come in. You can bet on it.
Yeah.
Which would be that's just now I'm distracted, but that'd be interesting to see how these bonds perform with this stuff going on that are all out there. Like they become a lot more risky. But anyways, no, it is interesting and how it can go. And I think the future is going to be weird. So let's merge all of this together. Let's talk NIL and how this all goes together, because one, I think the competition, like we said, is going to drive hopefully a better experience. And by competition, Matt, I mean, because I'm pointing at you because Casey's in the system. The competition also exists in the job place. So where schools are going to have to compete for good teachers, whether it's public or private or whatever, they're going to have to compete. So they're going to have to give different benefits to teachers, like 4-day work weeks or better, whatever it may be. So now schools are going to have to compete harder for their teachers, which I think could, result hopefully
positively
in a positive way for them, more pay, whatever it is. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So then going NIL. So right now, Texas, like you said, can't do NIL, right?
I bet that changes at some point.
Yeah.
Well,
change.
That's what we talk about on the soccer teams. It's like, okay, so these are really going to be run like colleges. Like all of this stuff is going to be run like colleges. I mean, you're going to have some hook to get people to want to go there, like an IMG or whatever. And then where does it end? Because what happens to these student athletes that are really good? Do they get agents? Or all of a sudden, are you a high school student?
Yeah, they get agents.
Are you a high school coach that has to have like a college where you have a GM running your high school football team, where you're going to recruit people to go to your private school to then, like, that's highly possible.
Yeah. Well, I know in golf they get agents. The good high school ones have agents.
Really?
Yeah. And then like I said, they don't always play for their high school team. It's not. That's like in golf you have to start playing in like AJGA and some of these other tournaments to get points to then try to get to that next level. And then you can either go to college or you just go straight to, like Blades Brown just went straight to pros.
Yeah.
Just skipped the college altogether.
Well, you guys know like Amy Barron, who's like one of my good high school buddies.
Yeah.
She played like very partially for the high school team. There's 2 kids at Marcus right now that are younger. I think they might be like sophomores. They play on Texans. These are 2 brothers. They're unbelievable. I've watched them in a tournament, like unbelievable, like pro quality kids. They don't play on the high school team. I think they might have joined like for playoffs or something, but they don't play. They don't play the high school.
Can you come help us win a state championship?
Yeah, like that's just how it is. So like in theory, what could happen is, forever football has been a public school product. So you didn't have clubs to go play football. And I still don't know that today I think you have 7-on-7 teams, but I don't think that there's like, the IMG here. You're not going and getting recruited unless you're going out of state to do that. So like here, it's going to look really crazy, like wild. I mean, can you imagine like just the whole, hey, talk to my agent. I'm 16 and I'm a quarterback and I want to go wherever. And how much money are you going to pay me? Like, I don't think we're that far away from
high
that.
schooler, yeah.
Signing
That's
contracts.
wild. Yeah.
Well, and they plan some of that stuff. They're planning, they're planning out already anyways.
For
right?
sure.
Mm-hmm.
You look at like Manning, what's the Arch Manning.
Yeah.
That dude, since he was in probably 8th grade, knew like there was a plan in place,
For sure.
guys like that. So it's some of that stuff exists for some of those guys already.
Well, and I think that might be the future of these clubs. To kind of end it with this, it's like, so you have these big clubs, take FC Dallas, for example, and FC Dallas has hundreds of teams and they want to retain the top tier talent and they want to stay big and the top tier teams are what bring the other teams. Cause like kids want to say, I'm on FC Dallas.
Yeah.
Whether they're on the A team or the F team or whatever the team is, they just want to be part of that organization. Well, for them to stay relevant as high schools, private schools, most likely become more prominent, like they're going to have to get involved with these schools. And I think the future looks like these clubs, whether it's soccer or football getting privatized or hockey or golf or whatever. I think you're going to see a ton of these schools turn into university like programs. And for these clubs to stay super relevant, as big as they are, they're going to have to get in this education system to retain their kids there.
Oh, yeah.
What a weird world it's going to be. Like it's going to be...
Well, everything's shifting up, if you think about it. Like college is shifting.
To pros.
College might as well just be like, I'm thinking specifically football, but you could relate it to every sport. But like college football, they might as well just treat it like the pros. Just do contracts.
Yeah, it's like
and
a
just
minor
like,
league.
Yeah, there's too many, like with the NCAA, there's too many, like they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Just be like the pros. Just go like NFL. Get a contract. If the kid wants to leave and transfer out, cool. He pays whatever back. Or like, I mean, there's the easy ways to solve it. And they're trying to like, I think, get too fancy with it where it's like, just be like the NFL. This problem's already been solved.
Yeah.
And so, and then now, so high school, I think is going to start trending up like,
no doubt.
It's all going to just shift up because unfortunately, just like we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, it's like sports in general, everybody's getting super competitive and it's always going to just get more nobody ever goes, hey guys, let's all just take 3 steps back.
Yeah.
It's no. Yeah. So how do we get better?
Right.
How do we go more?
We want to be the best.
Everybody wants to go more.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's just going to go that way. Or fortunately, I guess. I don't know how it turns out for some people.
Right.
Yeah, so we're in the market. I have a 6-year-old baker. I'm in the market for an agent. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That kid can't even tie his shoes. but yeah, no, it's going to be weird. I thought it'd be fun to talk about this because, boy, we see it. Like the youth sports, as expensive as they've gotten, and then from the top down, to your point, influence of these universities, I guess, starting with NIL and then rolling down to some of the private schools like IMG to now it's here. It's our backyard in Texas. It is going to be wild to watch how these school systems adapt. And I think whatever school embraces the connection with these clubs or whatever it may be to really, really focus on sports or whatever else it is. I mean, it doesn't have to be, baseball. It could be rowing. It could be chess. Like it can be anything that you want to excel at. I mean, I think Oklahoma State, where we're all from, is one of the funniest schools to watch because I think I heard again, we used to brag about it, like we have the most national championships of any college. People don't realize that, like,
not anymore.
Not in football. Not in,
yeah.
I think we're second.
We dropped down.
Or third, maybe.
Princeton or someone. No, that was golf. Someone keeps winning some random ones.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's how we got up there.
Yeah.
The random ones.
That's it.
Yeah.
Be really good at those if that's what you want to be. Like you don't have to
shout out golf.
Yeah. National champ.
National champ.
High
Let's
school,
go.
we had like a bunch of dancers who now dance at the New York
Juilliard.
Yeah, so they do that. And then we had a girl who would be gone for a while who was on the Wizards of Waverly Place TV show. So it was just like flexibility for all.
Yeah.
Whether you played tennis, you acted, you danced, you golfed, you hockey.
Yeah.
Just like, we will work with your schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, all the sports teams, your FC Dallas, it's like they're already, they're dialed in.
Yeah.
You just need to find a place to
let them
educate
land.
kids.
Yeah. They've got the facilities.
Well, and listen, just like bringing in NIL forced college teams and colleges to get better in different ways. Hopefully that's what happens to the public schools. Like that's the biggest, I think, knock I would have on the school system in general and private for that matter, specifically the one my kids go to. I have some things I would like to have them do different, but it's like, I think it's, hopefully it makes everybody get more competitive and get better and do, change the way, maybe the education looks for all the kids, because it's not just show up and do math for an hour and then take your snack break and then go to recess and then come back and do like, not every kid needs to learn that way. So maybe if anything, hopefully it changes the landscape better to where it can be more of a customized, whether you're public or private, customized education experience for kids, you know?
Yep.
Ideally.
It's a cool time. I can understand from the public. If I was in the public school system, I would be very, very nervous about it. But I also, you know, at some point would sit down and have a cup of coffee and say, well, what does this look at at a bigger level? Like, am I actually not going to have a job because the funding's not here? No. People need to be taught. I actually might end up in a better situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of opportunities.
There is.
Everybody, kids, teachers, parents.
I can't wait to hear the public educators that will see this video. I'm specifically thinking of my assistant principal from
Come on the show.
No,
you should have him on.
Buddy Bonner. I know he is very into this, and I want to give him a shout out. This I might even tag him in this when we post it, because he's going to have a different viewpoint, and I'm very curious. The thing about us is that I'm always super open minded. Like, I want to know where they're coming from and how they negatively think this will impact, and how it kind of differs from the way we're thinking about it. We obviously don't live it every day outside of our kids, but I want to hear the opposing viewpoints too, because it's
what's our phrase we say? We always say it's that's my opinion, but I reserve the right to change it.
Yeah. When you go to those things, all I think is like trust but verify from Nick saying it over and over.
But I think that's what I think. But I reserve the right to change it at some point.
Yeah,
give me your opinion.
It's not. Everything's fluid. So anyway, I thought it'd be fun to hop on here and talk about it. I think there's a huge opportunity for those that are looking at the space. I mean, man, I guess we are entrepreneurs, and as an entrepreneur, I look at this and go, the horizon is wide open for some people to jump in and throw some big money at some of these efforts and do very, very well. Mm-hmm. So from that standpoint, very interesting as well. Anyway, that's all I want to hop on and talk about today. A little different tune than air conditioning or
take
vodka.
A break from the business talk.
Yeah.
Although it is business.
Yeah. Could be.
School business.
Yeah. It's our kids. Anyways, anyone have anything else that they want to contribute to this?
No, I would say one of the things that we could tie back to, if you are a teacher, we've always talked, we've just recently launched a new microsite over here. If you are a teacher, you want to launch your own microsite, come on down.
Yeah, maybe the time is right for you to make a career change.
Hey,
you don't even have to
summers
change.
Are perfect.
Yeah,
summers are perfect.
Summers are perfect. If you want a summer job, we'll hook you up.
This is why Evan's the best.
Full circle.
All right. Well, very good. This has been good. Glad we talked about this, and I'm very curious to see what kind of response this gets, because it's a lot going on.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.